welcome to Faith on Film, a program designed to keep you informed on everything that's happening in the world of faith and family films. Now, I have a question for you. Have you ever had a family crisis or walked into a place where you felt you were literally stepping right into the middle of a spiritual battle? Well, my guest today has. And guess what he did? Well, he basically turned it into a movie. Danny Carrales is an award-winning writer, producer, director, and is the founder and owner of DRC Films, which produces faith-based movies with evangelistic themes. Some of the films include Escape from Hell, Pilgrim's Progress, Journey to Heaven, and The Gathering. Mr. Carrales is a professor at the Cinematic Arts Department at Liberty University, and he's here today to talk about his movie, Heaven's War, which is a supernatural thriller about spiritual warfare in Washington, D.C. Danny, welcome to Faith on Film.
It's good to be here. Thank you, Isaac, for having me.
You bet. Now, a movie about spiritual warfare in D.C. Now, I know you've been working on this movie literally for several years.
Yeah.
Did you expect that we literally were going to be in spiritual warfare in D.C.?
Well, we know that I think that's the epicenter, right, for spiritual warfare here in the United States. So I knew that was going to happen, but I didn't know to the extent that we're dealing with it today, right? I mean, nobody would have known just all the craziness that's happening right now. It's just, it's crazy. Who would have known?
I know, it's unbelievable, but I guess it was a bit prophetic on your part. So we're going to talk about that later on in the program, but you know what? I want to get started with really kind of finding out your journey. I mean, how did you even get started in filmmaking in the first place?
Well, actually, I came from a Christian Missionary Alliance background. So I was taught like a global worldview, right, of reaching people for Christ around the world. And there were a lot of missionaries that attended my church, and they really wanted me to go in the mission field, but I didn't feel that call. I felt the calling to make movies that would go farther than I could and to reach farther places. And so I wanted to go into filmmaking because I felt that was where God was leading me to be. That's where my heart was, is to share the gospel through entertaining people through movies and sharing, the clear gospel of Jesus Christ. So that's what I did.
Wow. So how do you feel God prepared you for this ministry?
Well, I went to college. I went to the University of Texas Film School and had an undergraduate degree there, and I started making Christian films even as an undergrad. In a secular school, and then I went to Regent University and got my master's in communications and emphasis on film. And so from there, I worked for the Christian Broadcasting Network and did projects for them. And I went on to work for what's now called Right Now TV, Right Now Media, and it used to be Bluefish TV. And so I used to work for them for a while, and then I worked for a good friend of mine, Warren Marcus. I don't know if you know. I'm pretty sure you know Warren. Yeah. He's got Daystar Pictures, and we worked. He used to be my old film professor at Regent, and he hired me to work for his company, and I worked for him for a number of years. And so I learned the craft of actually doing infomercials and commercials, which I thought, God, why do you have me here? But it really helped me build what I ended up doing with doing commercials and promoting my movies. So after working with Warren, I went ahead and did my first film, and then it went on from there. I made Final Exit, The Gathering, and The Gathering is the one that kind of took me to the next level, and I was able to fund all my own movies. Of course, I've done all that. I've always funded my own movies, which I don't recommend. It's just a faith walk, and so I did that, and so from then on, Escape from Hell became what we would consider a blockbuster in our world, and then I did a movie called Pilgrim's Progress, Heaven's Journey, which did well. And then I did a book based on Randy Alcorn's best-selling book called The Treasure Principle about the Joy of Giving. And then I did Heaven's War, which I'm really excited about. And we just released it. And, we'll see what God's doing. It's really, it's nice to see how people's lives can be changed through films, right? And you never know how a film's going to affect somebody. That's the weird part. It's like when I made Heaven's War, I had no idea how, because people, when they watch a film, they're attached to different storylines, and there's certain storylines that really hit them hard, harder than others. And you just don't know what God's doing when you're making a movie, which storyline is going to affect people a certain way. And that's the beauty of how God intervenes in the making of a film.
Yeah. And this is why I think it's interesting that people should make the movies that they feel called to make. For instance, there are people that are called to make movies specifically to the Christian audience, let's say.
Right.
And that's fine. And then there's people that are called to make movies, I think, that are a little bit more evangelistic in nature. And I mean that movies that would attract the unchurched. And that's that I think is the most difficult part. Because in a Christian movie, for Christians, it's easy. You just pick a good Bible story or a story that that will resonate with Christians, and there you have it. When you talk about making a movie for a non-Christian, there's a real fine line that you almost have to literally get to and walk, not get to a point where you cross over in what you're putting in your movie, but at the same time make it to where it's relevant to them. So I feel for people that are called to do that, but you know what? They are called, and God wants them to do that for a purpose. Now, at some point, you also became a professor at a university.
Right.
What kind of led you to do that?
So here's the fun part. I was blessed to know Jerry Falwell Sr. Because I lived in Lynchburg for a little bit, and because Warren Marcus lived here, and Warren Marcus was like one of his right-hand men. And so when I went to work for Warren, I got to meet Jerry Sr. And, I was a young buck at the time, and it was great to meet a guy like that and what he wanted to do in evangelizing the world and sharing the gospel. So I got to meet and understand where Liberty comes from and what their vision is. And I got to know some of the people involved at the school, and they've been wanting me to come and teach there for a while. And I finally, agreed. And thank God I got accepted as a professor, because it is great to be here. Mm-hmm. We have a great faculty. It's just the students are amazing. And Liberty has been gracious to us because we have equipment that is mind-bogglingly amazing. I mean, this is equipment that I drool over, right? I mean, I can't wait for you to come and visit what we have here. We have, the top red cameras. We have the top, we have Steadicams, Ronins, doorway dollies, Pee-wee dollies. We have HMI lights, Kino flow lights. We have cranes and jib arms. I'm looking at all this stuff, and I'm like, we're trying to prepare the students to understand, hey, what's it like to make a movie from concept to production to post-production and marketing. And that's what we do here, and I'm really excited about that.
That's fantastic. Well, listen, we're going to take a little break right now, and we'll come back and we'll talk about the movie that you produced. That again has to do with spiritual warfare. All right?
Sounds great. Thank you.
Fantastic. Folks, don't go away. We'll be right back.
Encourage TV. Family-friendly and faith-friendly content absolutely free. Subscribe today and watch hundreds of hours of content on our streaming channels. Visit encouragetv.com today.
Seriously, Dad, I want to go.
I told you it's not that big. Great-granddaddy couldn't even fit right.
That thing's not to scale. It's a cartoon. The real one's bigger than a football field.
For real?
Come on, you don't even have to pay for me. Kids are free.
All right. Can't be that big.
Whoa! Told you, Dad. You just gotta think bigger.
Welcome back to Faith on Film. We're here talking with Danny Carrales, who not only is a great filmmaker, but he's a professor. It's really nice. He's imparting what he's learned over the years now into our youth. Danny, let's talk about the movie now that of course we teased at the beginning of the show, Heaven's War. I have seen it. It's not a Hallmark movie. This is a pretty strong spiritual warfare movie. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, I've always been fascinated by great spiritual warfare, like books and novels. Like Frank Peretti's one of my heroes. I think he's fantastic. I think, we see a lot of great, things that are done by him, and then other novelists and other people that even you look at John Bunyan, right? Even John Bunyan talked about spiritual warfare, and Pilgrim's Progress even, does a little bit of that. But I just really wanted to show a movie that kind of showed the behind the scenes of what happens in spiritual warfare. Now, we don't know what really happens, right? It's an unseen world. And so what I'm trying to do is just kind of reminding people that I can't imagine what it's really like, right? I can't imagine the warfare that's going on, but I've always been intrigued by it, because you look at biblical stories, and one of my favorite biblical stories is when the Archangel Michael is fighting with Satan over Moses' body. I'm like, what in the world? But what a great story. And I think one pastor said something that I thought was really amazing. He says, I think the reason they fought over his body was because if Satan wanted the body so that the Israelites would keep it and maybe worship that rather than Christ. And, God, I thought that's amazing, right? That's pretty cool. So there's a warfare that's always going on. Even if you look even when Christ is born, right? We see the spiritual warfare that's going on even at the birth of Christ. So I'm thinking, what is even going on right now, and what is behind the scenes? What are angels doing? It's always fascinating me, right, that this battle still rages on, but we know the victor, right? We know that Christ has won. We know that great thing. We see a pandemic and a terrible thing that's happening in our world right now. But here's the thing I want people to know. Let's get into battle. Let's start praying. Let's be careful. One of the things that I love about this film is that it talks about how our actions, our words, and our motivations ripple throughout eternity. It makes a difference, right? How we respond to people in love rather than hate and anger makes an eternal difference in their lives and how we affect others. And I just want people to be aware, like, there's more out there than we can think of. There's more power out there in the name of Jesus. When he wants us to do something, doors can open up, things can happen, and that's what I want this movie to share for people.
Now, I said something in the teaser, which of course I actually asked you about this, and you say in this teaser that apparently you walked into a place where you felt you were stepping inside a spiritual battle, and you decided to make a movie about it. What was it that you were involved in or stepped into that you felt is what inspired you to do this movie?
Well, every time you make a Christian film, I mean, I know what it's like for other Christian filmmakers, but you literally feel like you're in the middle of a battle, all right? I mean, you feel the presence of the two sides fighting, and making a movie, especially a Christian film, takes a lot out of you emotionally and spiritually and physically. It's just, people don't understand how difficult it is to make a movie. And even when I'm making Heaven's War, I mean, I had the weirdest things. I would come in late at night to my family and my kids. I mean, toys would turn on at 3:00 in the morning. I'd have to go and turn them off. I fact, one of them, this one particular toy kept on turning on, and I just removed the batteries. I'm like, that's it. I mean, that's like, and every times when I'd be walking and I could hear a voice talk to me, say, Danny, and I'm like, I turn around, there's nobody there. And it was bizarre. And I've heard other people talk about bizarre things. I don't know if you know Fred Carpenter. But Fred would tell me stories that happened to him. And it's just, I mean, this is a common thing, that there is a spiritual battle going on. But, but it's great to see that there must be a reason Satan's trying to stop you. He's trying to, because now we see that people are coming to know Christ. We see marriages being healed. We see all kinds of wonderful things happening from people watching the film, right? So that shows me, or it tells me I'm going in the right direction when you have that kind of spiritual warfare going on around you. I just feel like that's part of it.
I have grown up, I mean, I have so many stories that you really, corroborate this. I mean, I've seen a lot of this, and I don't want to get into it now because that would be an hour show of just me talking, and I don't want to do it. This is about you, but yes, I totally understand what you're saying.
And I'm sure the viewers, some of them have gone through the same thing we've been through, right? I mean, it's, so it's real.
Yeah. You know what? As a matter of fact, I just got an idea. Viewers, if you've gone through this type of thing, some kind of real strong spiritual battle, why don't you write me at faithonfilmtv@gmail.com and let me know what that story is. Okay, so remember, just faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. Listen, let's take a quick look at the trailer so we can kind of get an idea of what it is that you're talking about in this movie, all right?
Am I dead?
One could say that you never lived. No, you are not dead. We're in the spiritual realm of the world you know.
There was an explosion. How did I get here?
It took more than you can imagine to bring you here.
Am I dreaming?
No. This world is more real than the one you know. They're the enemy. Followers of the fallen star, Satan.
They're weak, unfaithful, so easy to deceive.
Do you want to know the truth? This battle is for your soul.
How can people get a hold of this movie right now?
Well, that's a great question, and thanks for asking. So the best way to support me would be to go to my website, which is Real Christian, a film reel, REEL, realchristian.com, right? And so that's the best way to support me. Go on there. You can buy the DVD. We have it on Blu-ray. We have digital downloads, so you can get it from there. And so we would love for you to come and support us. Every sale helps, as you know. Every sale helps us move forward with the next movie, and we're excited about what we're working on. I'm actually working on an end times film that I'm excited about, and why I'm excited about it is because like nobody's really kind of touched on these particular things, and I'm kind of working on that. So
fantastic. Well, listen, we're going to take another break, and we'll come back and find out what is in the future of Danny Carrales. What else you got planned? All right. So, folks, don't go away. We'll be right back.
Dad? This is a lot of work. It might take us the entire weekend.
You think this is rough? Try building one of the most massive wooden ships in history without modern tools.
Go ahead. Think bigger.
Just one life, a perfect time. And your heart starts beating hard. I'm gonna keep on dreaming. I wanna feel that love. I wanna get that feeling. I wanna get that feeling.
Meet Will. Will wants to make a movie based in Bible times. No, maybe a Western. Well, maybe an apocalyptic movie. A biblical era apocalyptic Western? That would be so original. But Will needs some sweet sets to bring it to life, and Will is 25,352 miles away from any of those sweet, sweet sets. Or so he thinks. Fortunately for Will, there is a solution. Introducing Capernaum Studios, your ticket to realistic locations and everything else you need to bring your period-accurate story to life. Book a tour today, like Will, who is, yet to leave.
Welcome back to Faith on Film. We're here with Danny Carrales. And Danny, so we've learned about how you started in filmmaking. We've learned about this movie that you've made that is out now that deals with spiritual warfare. What else is in the future for Danny Carrales?
You know, that's a great question. And I just want to go back to Heaven's Word just for the tidbit. So what I want to say about that is that, you know, I tried to make it palatable as far as watching the spiritual warfare. Like it's more of a, I hate to say this, like a Star Wars kind of feel to it rather than like a dark, like Insidious kind of thing, you know, where there are The Conjuring, where that is more like, you know, a much darker piece. I wanted to make it so that more people could watch it. And so I'm working on another piece that is like an end times piece about God kind of doing a supernatural work on the earth and trying to turn people towards him. And I think that's something that he's doing even now, right? I mean, we are seeing this pandemic and how many people are responding in a positive light. Even how many Christians are out there on their knees, right?
Yes.
Praying. You know, we see a lot of people, my pastor, Jonathan Falwell, was talking about, you know, these people are doing their like, hey, this is what I'm doing in the quarantine. Let me show you how I'm making my popcorn or let me show you how I'm exercising. But how many people are saying, hey, you know what I'm doing? I'm praying. You know, I'm realizing that this is what's important to me because of the pandemic. And I just want us to be a little more bolder out there. I think my pastor, you know, really put out a good call and say, let's use this time, right, of, you know, social, you know, creating a message, and let's talk about how Jesus is real to us, right? Yeah. And I think I just want to just tell that. And so my next movie is kind of dealing with, again, I always do supernatural stuff, brother, and I know that puts me in a tough place.
That's
because it's my thing. It's people know me for, and I got green screens, I got all kinds of stuff. But one of the things that's hardest is that now I've got to create, you know, things that I should not be dealing with in the budgets that I do. But, you know, praise God. I think, you know, my team did a really great job with the special effects on Heaven's War. I think it's really well done. And I know that we can do it. And we take that learning curve and move it now towards a new era where we're going to have cool things happen that I think would be like water turning into blood is one of the things I got going. I got all kinds of cool stuff that's happening. And, you know, I just want to show like God is getting our attention. What are you doing about it, right? Yeah. This more than any time, we show that life is fragile, right? And now's the time to say, let's think about what God has for us and let's hear from him and let's respond in a way that makes a difference for the kingdom of Jesus Christ.
Yeah. You know, one interesting thing that I'm seeing is there's a lot of, let's call it little short films that people are doing. There's a friend of mine that started this thing called the Quarantine Film Festival. And he's basically just encouraged these people to just do a little film and put it on there. Just throw it up on there. And interestingly enough, it caught fire. I mean, it's actually been several people that are now sponsoring, organizations that are sponsoring his festival. And I don't know, I think I've seen at least a good 40, 50 of these films come in already.
No way. Way to go.
I was shocked.
Yeah, at Liberty, we are doing that for our students are going to do these kind of movies too. It's we are, you know, we're encouraging to, because why not, right? Look, why not be creative, right? What can we tell a story here that is worth telling? Yeah. And let's think about creative ways to let those juices out and do something fun and cool.
Yeah, and then I've also seen, you know, these things now where the first one I saw was from a bunch of singers from Nashville where they all did the singing from their own home, of course, and then it was all put together. It was unbelievable. And it was, I'm talking about Christian music, by the way. A lot of churches are of course, they're all streaming their services. Some of them are doing this where they'll sing in you know, an old hymn or something. I myself started doing. I just hit my microphone. How's that for professional? I myself started doing something 5 weeks ago called the Throwback Thursday Worship Chorus Edition. You familiar with what Throwback Thursday is? Where on Facebook, they post pictures from way. Well, I started instead posting songs that I grew up with when I was a kid. So every week I post a new song, just a short portion of it. So this is really giving us all opportunities to just do something that before we were a little too busy to do.
Yes.
So all right.
Well said.
Once again, how can people get a hold of you if they want to watch your movies?
So again, please support me. Go to realchristian.com, and that's a film reel, REEL, realchristian.com. And you can help support me there by buying our movies there. That would be a great help.
Awesome. And this comes to you from a real Christian, R-E-A-L.
But that's R-E-A-L.
Yes, from a real Christian comes our R-E-E-L.
Also, look, I'm at Liberty University, and you guys that are watching, if you want to come to Liberty and check us out, please do. That'd will give you the grand tour, right? I'll give you, and we have things that are mind-blowing. We have a THX room, brother, a mixing room.
I've heard of that one.
Room. It's mind-blowing what we can do there. We have Foley rooms. We have ADR booths. We have all these cool editing booths. So come and visit us.
I've been promising you that I will be there and haven't been able to, but this year, once we get past this, I'll be there, all right?
That sounds good.
Danny, thank you so much for being with us today, man, and sharing from your heart. All righty?
Thank you so much for having me. God bless you, my friend.
Thank you. Folks, don't go away. We'll be right back.
Seriously, how big was it? I'm telling you, it's humongous. So it was bigger than a castle? Totally. And when you're there, there's so many cool things to do that you forget about time. No way. That only happens in one place. Go ahead. Think bigger.
Encourage TV. Family-friendly and faith-friendly content absolutely free. Subscribe today and watch hundreds of hours of content on our streaming channels. Visit encouragetv.com today.
Welcome back. Once again, we've come to the end of yet another show. I want to thank you for joining us today. I also want to remind you that if you want to watch some great movies, all you have to do is go to Parables TV. Parables TV is a great place where you can watch all kinds of great content for you and your family. Simply go to parables.tv. That's parables.tv. I also want to remind you to write me. I want to hear from you, even if it's just to say that you're out there watching the program. Just write me and simply say, hey, I'm here from Podunk, Iowa, and I'm watching your show. I don't really even know if there's a Podunk, Iowa, but if there is, write me and let me know. Simply write me at faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. That's faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. Remember, as I always say, if you want to keep a healthy soul, just watch some good, healthy entertainment. Till next week, take care.